Hi, my name is Terry Lucas, and I am here to talk to you today about trauma treatment, specifically somatic experiencing. I am a certified clinical trauma professional, and I work with those with PTSD quite frequently. All forms of PTSD. I have worked with Army veterans, military veterans. I've worked with those who have gone through horrible crashes, car crashes, abuse, all kinds of different things that can cause a traumatic experience. So today I want to talk to you about one specific type of therapy that I like to use. So somatic experiencing specifically refers to body work to help us release our trauma. So somatic experiencing was first developed by Peter Levine in the 1970s. He noticed that animals tend to react to trauma by shaking or shivering, and sometimes running away. So, for example, if a predator tries to attack them, when it's over, they try to run away or they shake and they shiver, and then very quickly return to a fairly normal baseline of functioning. So he saw that and thought, why is it that we as humans are unable, for the most part, to do that? So he started really looking into body work to release trauma. Specifically, he had this thought while he was working with a client with complex PTSD that was getting very agitated and very worked up when talking about a trauma that she had experienced. And he just had this light bulb moment and encouraged her to start kicking her feet like she's running as fast as she can to get away from that trauma. And she did. She started kicking her feet and run like she was running as fast as she could. And he encouraged her to visualize running away from that trauma and being able to get away from it. And so she did that. And her PTSD symptoms were much better from that day forward. Was it 100% resolved? Probably not. But did it make a huge difference in her life? Absolutely. So we really started looking at the connection between our mind and body at that point. There have been a lot of other people who have looked into this as well and done research. Two that I have had training with and have really enjoyed their work are Janina Fisher and Bessel van der Kolk. Their work is amazing and talks a lot about the connection between our physical being, our somatic being, and our mental health. So let's talk a little bit more about somatic experiencing. So when the 9/11 attacks occurred on the World Trade Center, there was a class at a local elementary school in New York, and it was a second grade class, and they were out on the playground. They saw the plane hit the tower. This is a very traumatic experience for most people. The teacher's reaction, however, was not one of panic. They were very calm and calmly took them off the playground, away from the event that was occurring, away from the site of the towers, and back into the classroom. And they did that in a very calm way. How many of those students do you think developed PTSD? Most people would think that the majority of those students probably had some trauma-related symptoms develop after this event. However, none of them did. And the reason that we believe this happened is that they were allowed to physically escape the trauma. They were allowed to walk away or run away from it. So if we think back to those animals that Peter Levine was talking about that run away, and that helps them physically discharge their trauma. And they don't develop these PTSD type symptoms. They go back to a very normal way of functioning very quickly. And so we believe that's what happened here. So this is a good example of what a physical release from trauma can look like and how that can help us. So somatic experiencing allows us to physically discharge our trauma. It builds resilience slowly by working up to the trauma. So I'm going to walk you through that in just a moment. So why don't we physically discharge trauma immediately like animals do? Well, there's a lot of reasons. We have higher level reasoning, and one of the things that we tend to do is we try to push that trauma away or push the reaction, that physical reaction, away so that we can hold it together. These are the things we hear all the time. Or be strong for the others around us. So we push it down. We stop the reaction and don't allow ourselves to shiver, to shake, or to run away from the trauma. So we basically keep our bodies from being able to physically discharge this trauma. So this is just a quick overview of how somatic experiencing works. So, of course, we first build rapport and establish trust. That's important in any type of counseling relationship, no matter your technique. We teach relaxation techniques, so deep breathing, some maybe progressive muscle relaxation, things to help the person bring down that anxiety response. With somatic experiencing, we always want to start slow. So we start with asking what was happening before the trauma. How was the weather? What was the weather like? Was it warm? Was it cold? Who were you with? What was going on around you? So this helps us build up the resilience we need to actually approach the traumatic event. As therapists, we need to read our clients' body cues, and then when we feel they're ready, help them discharge the trauma physically. Encourage them to let themselves shake or to shiver. Encourage them to run away from the trauma. And then the final step is to help them process how they're feeling after this and to continue working through this process with them. So this is just a basic overview of what somatic experiencing is. There are trainings available if you're interested in this type of work that go into much more detail on how to do this. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.